This is episode 52 of the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast with our guest, Simon Hall.
Clubs are taking their time to adopt, to get involved. I know it's a high investment for some people, but we've really got to think of, is it going to help your business? How are you going to connect with your members? You need to get on the boat now. It's going to move too fast, too quickly, and you'll be so far behind. That's why you need those champions and those early adopters in your business that help you move you along quicker as well.
Welcome to the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast for club owners, operators, and fitness professionals. I am your host, Josh Trent, and this is your number one trusted resource for the accelerating world of fitness technology. Each week, we bring you an expert interview with a global influencer at the crossroads of fitness and technology. You'll gain the insights, tools, and inspiration you need to stay connected to the pulse of what matters most for your fitness business in the age of exponential technologies. In this episode, we're joined by Simon Hall, the principal consultant at Fitness Business Experts and the GM of My PT app, to talk about the strategies needed to leverage technology and social media for generating leads, creating engaging community experiences, increasing customer retention, and creating that in-club technology champion. Even in our fast-paced world, we still see a serious lag in the adoption of social strategies and new tech with many of today's clubs and trainers. This failure to take advantage of social platforms and new advancements in the fitness space will cause many facilities to suffer as others begin to offer a more exciting and emotionally engaging experience. Coming up, Simon breaks down the concept of creating a club within a club. With recent success of studio and boutique training centers, he shows how larger gyms can now create similar appeals with their existing facilities by transforming the experience around exercise classes. We talk about how many forward-thinking clubs now have specific ecosystems for their group training programs through utilizing new tech, upbeat music, and specialized branding. These features add a custom feel for the members and fosters a community around these segments of the gym that provide their own unique atmosphere apart from the main facility. We also talk about the shocking statistics of members who aren't even aware their gyms are on Facebook. Simon explains the importance of having the technology champion in the club, someone who takes charge of social media interaction and leads the digital front for customer retention. As we know, it's one thing to have the technology, but implementing and bringing it to the customer in a seamless way calls for someone who is tech savvy, enjoys creating content and posting on social platforms, and has a true passion for building a trusted bridge between their customers and technology. With a high level of competition and rising consumer expectations in our industry, how can fitness professionals and club owners take advantage of new tech and social platforms to offer that unique experience, build an engaged community, and increase member retention? The answer to that question and much more takeaways for club owners, operators, and fitness pros in this episode with Simon Hall. Simon Hall is the general manager of My PT app and principal consultant at Fitness Business Experts with over 30 years in the fitness space and experience working in England, New Zealand, and Australia. From hotel health club receptionist all the way to respected industry consultant, I'd like to welcome Simon Hall to the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast. Simon, how you doing?
Yeah, good, Josh. How are you, mate?
This is fantastic. You know, this is a conversation at this intersection of what's happening, not just here in the United States, but around the globe. We're actually talking on a technology piece called Skype for this interview. Where are you coming from today? Where are you talking to us from?
I'm at Bondi Beach in Sydney. Very lucky that the sun's out this morning. Although we're still in autumn, we've got some great temperatures today.
So you're a new member to the FITSE organization. Tell us, Simon, kind of who are you, what do you do, and why do you do it?
As you said, I've been in the industry a fair while, so done a lot of things in the industry. But more so now, it's kind of brought me around to this kind of consultancy feel for my business, where I kind of work with other fitness businesses, helping them connect with others to find the right solution for their business, or help them with marketing, social media, operations, staff training and that kind of stuff. And my other role is with My PT app. It's a PT platform to help them run their business. And that's going to be launched in Australia very soon, working with the Peak Body Fitness Australia. Those in Australia will be able to see that in the next couple of months, and hopefully we'll be thinking about moving it globally in the future.
And this is really cool because you are not just a fitness industry specialist in tech, but you're also a cafe owner and a volunteer life surf saver. Tell us about that.
Living in the Bondi community, it's very much a cafe culture, and with my wife and some other very cool business partners, we had 2 cafes. We've now got just got one very cool place called Brew Coffee, not far from the beach. So if you're ever in Bondi, pop up to see Brew Coffee. Being a Bondi local, and I'm not a surfer, as you are, Josh. But I'm a lover of water, swimming instructor from my past, and wanted to get involved in the community. So every month I go and stand on the beach side and help the community with looking after those that go in the water. I'm a member of the North Bondi Surf Lifesaving Club, and we do 40 hours a season just helping out.
It seems like you've always been involved in your community. Looking back, 2008, you were at YMCA of Sydney. What was the technology space looking like back then? We're going to dive deep into the boutique space, how that's looking for New Zealand and Australia and then some. But when you were back there, 2008 YMCA of Sydney, what was the technology space at that time? What have you seen change?
In those days, it was just, if we could afford to have the computerized bikes in our clubs. Yes, heart rate monitoring was around, but it was really for those pro athletes that would go on their bikes and do triathlons that maybe have a polar heart rate monitor. So, in those days we had tick sheets for attendance. The technology space has moved dramatically. And, even in that time, social media has come on board. Connecting with members has been easier. So, hopefully we'll be able to talk a bit more about, how clubs should be adopting those things to increase retention and lots more aspects of their business. I'm
looking forward to that too. And in our previous call, I remember you said technology kind of went down before it came back up. What did you mean by that? Were you referencing these old school LCD displays based on now where we have artificial intelligence and machine learning? What was that dip? What did that dip look like?
So my very first experience in a club, which was about 30 years ago, at the Royal County Berkshire's Rackettson Health Club in Berkshire, in Bracknell, Berkshire in the UK. We had the latest Precor bikes, which were network linked, and we had a big screen with a projector, and you could have bike races. And me and my mate Darren, we had all the records on the bikes. There was a leaderboard on the bike. You could have different courses. It was a liquid display. It always went wrong, obviously, but it was a liquid display of bikes. It was a 3D. It was 3D cycling. I mean, we lost that, I think, because I think that technology was too expensive to develop.
Especially when we look at everyone has a device now, whether it's an iPad or a cell phone. I don't think there's anyone in audiences at any major conference I've been to when a speaker asks who doesn't have a cell phone. I haven't seen one hand come up. So we see this complete kind of bifurcation between people that have tech and people that don't. What do you think about this exponential growth of technology in regards to the customer experience? Let's explore this customer experience in the boutique segment, because there's a lot of tech out there, Simon. You actually talked about this at a recent conference. Tell us about your topic, and then we can kind of dive into this customer experience.
I think what's happening with the customer experience is that I was also involved in the Australian New Zealand fitness industry survey. And one of the questions we asked on there for clubs was, how many clubs have Facebook? All the clubs said, yes, we've got a fan page, which they were called fan pages in those days in 2010. And then we asked the member, the clients, how many clients were on Facebook? And even in 2010, 80% of them were saying, yes, we're on Facebook. The question we next asked was, how many of the clients knew that their club had Facebook? 30%.
Wow.
So the members were on Facebook. The clubs had Facebook pages, but they weren't connecting yet. They weren't connecting. So as clients, we all use the technology, but there's still not a strong connection yet. We're still not getting our members that are on Facebook to engage in our Facebook pages. It's still coming. It should be the biggest retention tool that you have at the moment.
Just so people can really take this in here, Facebook is probably one of the most valuable social tools out there. Would you say it's number one for that engagement factor?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And, should you have a screen in your club with a news feed of your Facebook page? I mean, who's doing that? I haven't seen any club do that. Why don't you walk into your club and there's a big screen with your Facebook page feeding stuff that's going on that day? So it reminds the member to, yes, I need to go and like that page, and maybe I should engage about the club I just did. And why isn't the instructor saying, you've got your tech, why don't you share your tech on your Facebook page and don't forget to tag us? We're still a little bit back behind the 8 ball on that space, I think.
So when we look at this adoption of the tech, really combining this omnipresence, which so many in our space talk about, but yet talking and doing are two different things. Yeah. What are you seeing then in the UK and New Zealand and Australia for this customer experience where it blends this all in together, Simon?
I was very lucky enough to go home to see my folks and also do a quick tour of some very cool clubs in London. One of the clubs, Dig Me, I went along to and did a spin class. Amazing environment. Heaps of tech, synchronized lighting. Spivvy they had was their interactive bike unit. I was on a leaderboard for part of the race. I was racing against my mate next door. I was then in a 3D race, which was very, very cool and interactive. But the best thing about it, when I got back in my car to drive home, up came a post from Dig Me. and it had my results, it had my performance, and it had my information. I also had my MyZone on at the time, so I had my own connectivity, and I was in a small challenge with some of my mates back in Oz. But the technology from the club was that they sent me something. I wasn't a member. I just signed in as a guest, and they still sent me stuff.
This is powerful because we've seen people talk about this, but yet you really got the report. What comes up for me is Rachel Cosgrove from Results Fitness, where they send their reports to their clients, but I haven't heard that from a guest. What do you think that might be for people wanting to come back to that experience? A first-time guest getting a report like that.
The hardest thing about the industry still is retention and also getting new leads. So we've got to concentrate on the facts that there are a whole bunch of stuff that we can do from a technological point of view that we're missing out on. Facebook is just one of the things, but I think the interactive tools that we have, I think the members want to use it, and I don't think we're working hard enough at it. Sometimes I think it's a resource issue at club level, and I sometimes think it's a value issue, whether they feel there's value in sending something to a member. We know that not every member is going to, feel it motivating, but we know that some of them will be motivated by it.
So you ran the survey for Australia and New Zealand fitness industry for a number of years. What are some of the lessons that you garnered from that? I mean, we're talking about a large body of people here. What kind of tech was making an impact based on those surveys?
When I was involved was from 2008 to 2013. The only kind of information we could really try to get out in those years was really around the social space. The stats I just kind of mentioned, that only 30% of members actually knew that a club had a Facebook page, was, that was the key takeaway. I mean, what's kind of interesting is that, I've kind of then gone out and put together a small package and done some presenting on social media for clubs. I mean, there's still a big gap, I think, in clubs adopting tech. Yes, it is expensive, but then you have to have someone in the club that champions that tech as well, whether it's social or it's high-end tech or it's monitoring type tech. It's no point implementing all these aspects of within your club because you feel you have to do it. You've still got to get your members involved. You've got to get the connection with the membership group. And unfortunately, clubs haven't been that great. Ever since I've started, retention has been the biggest issue in clubs. If we can connect our members to the tech, we're going to have a better connection, a better community, and, retention will roll out of that.
You bring up a great point because you had mentioned that we need a champion, someone who's a technology champion in the club.
Yep.
And if somebody at the top, let's say, C-suite down, if we have 4 people that believe in whatever piece of technology we're using, whether it is social interface or just, something with the mobile device, how would you describe personally this champion? It doesn't have to be at the C level. Can we have a champion for the club that leads that technology charge, especially, Simon, when we look at the boutique space, these studios?
There definitely needs to be somebody in the club itself, one of the staff members, that is motivated by the fact that it's funky to have technology in my space, also understands that space. And it's probably it's not going to be one of us, my friend. It's going to be one of the millenniums, especially in the social space. We need somebody that, is going to be posting regularly, is going to be creating content for the club, knows how to do that, knows how to tag and engage with their members. On the tech space, there needs to be someone that champions the MyZone challenge board, that champions the dissemination of the results, or whether they put them on another board, and understands that connectivity process. Sometimes the guy that decides to get that tech isn't in the club anyway. Oh yes, great, let's get MyZone in. Yeah, put the TVs up, and they'll put the TVs up and give a couple of belts away, then nothing happens inside the club because there's no one driving it.
This is such a powerful point, because just because you have the technology there doesn't mean that you have somebody who's savvy in order to execute on it. What are a couple characteristics of this champion? I think this is a really big piece of our conversation today, because we have tech on the left, we have engagement on the right. In the middle, there is that champion. What are a few things they might do as that tech champion?
Yeah, I mean, they've got to be totally connected with their membership base. It could be the membership sales guy. It could be the membership customer service leader or coordinator that's, they're the ones that see the members every day at the front desk, or they're the guys that have signed them up at the beginning of their memberships. They're the ones that probably have to say, we've got this great tech in our club to stay connected. We talk about it on Facebook. We put up on a screen, there's a leaderboard here, and then we have our annual champs. And then first of all, you've got to introduce it to the member. But I suppose in the end, every staff member has to be that, especially if you're running a class-based boutique model. The person that you often come back to the class for is the leader, is the motivator, and that person also needs to be the guy that's talking a lot about the tech. And I think one organization that does this very well is Orange Theory, and they're in that boutique space, that class space where, it's based around training in the orange zone. Their staff are so well trained. And at the end of each of the classes, they actually talk about the results on the board. So that's a really good, point there, that you need your team to be embracing the technology themselves, but also, reinforcing it with their members.
This champion aspect is big. Let's pivot here because we talk about clubs within a club, having an experience like an Orange Theory or like any kind of, high energy cycling experience in the club. Group fitness is one segment where a lot of that drives member retention, especially yourself sharing your story about how you got the report about your fitness when you were just a guest in that experience. Yeah. How do you think we can do this, Simon? Create the club environment within a club, create that special, unique, really purposeful, driven, just high engagement model within these big box clubs that we see.
I was actually, when I was writing some notes about talking today, I was very lucky again when I was in the UK to go to a David Lloyd club called the Harbour Club. Beautiful, super club. Beautiful club. You'd expect everyone to be, really engaged with their club. But even they've thought about what they're going to do next. And they've created a boutique club inside their super club. It's got a door. It's got a brand. You walk in, you become a part of this new community. And it's called Blaze. For the American audience, not dissimilar to a Barry's Boot Camp or an Orange Theory style club, specifically set up for our class.
Yeah.
But however, you look 20 years ago when we had spin studios, they're exactly the same. They're rooms with bikes in to do a class. Unfortunately, when we did the tour, we said, oh, there's the spin room, walk on.
Right.
We didn't say, oh, this is cycle world. In here, it's like a new community, and we didn't talk about it as a separate club in the old days. We just did a tour. Clubs now have to take that on board and really create these small clubs within a club to create that community, to create that retention. We know that if members work out together with a group of people that they like, or they've got like-minded interests, they will stay for longer. Unfortunately, they're not staying for the fancy equipment. They're only staying because they've built that community. And the small group training model, or boutique model, small group training, is building those communities.
This club within a club model, we've seen people talk about this, but yet this David Lloyd Club is really executing on it. So we'll make sure we link that in the show notes today. If you've been exploring, if you're a club owner and you've been exploring, how do I create that environment, this club within a club? What is maybe one thing they can do, no matter where they are in the world? What's that first step for them to create the club within a club environment?
Create a program. Whether it's somebody else's program that you take in and franchise, or you create your own program, that's a little bit unique. You've got to brand it. You make this unique class, and you then invite people to come along to that class. So you create a program. I would brand it. I would put it on a different timetable. I would make the environment completely different to the rest of the environment. A lot of these clubs are going, low lighting, synchronized lighting, so darker, using disco lights, making it an environment that you want to hang out with. Music's on a high tempo. If you haven't got any tech anywhere in your club, that's where your tech needs to be, because it can be quite specific. People walk in there and engaging with it, rather than just having a tech across the whole of your facility and maybe one or two people are using it. So if you did that and you brought tech in, it would be a great space to start it.
Something just came up for me when you were eloquenting in a brilliant way this piece about people come into the facility and the club is kind of where the tech should be focused in that club within a club environment. Yeah. The group space is really where most people go to get that human connection. Otherwise, they're just in the free weight area or they're doing cardio. That group environment, that is really what I'm hearing from you, where most of the technology investment gets to be.
Totally. It has to be quite specific, because I think initially we're trying to grab a new audience. So that audience has to be small at the beginning, and then ideally that audience grows. And we talk about technology, and it's so vast. I mean, we're just talking about heart rate monitoring, really, in that space, really. We talk heart rate monitoring, performance monitoring. But tech is everything. It's synchronized lighting, it's boards with videos on of people doing the exercises for demonstration, which Orange Theory do that very well too. And it's just making that space the place that they want to come. In the end of the day, when they rejoin, they may not be rejoining Bobby's Health Club on High Street. They might be joining Fast Fitness inside Bobby's Health Club on the High Street.
Just our general need for novelty in the fitness industry and our attention spans are both kind of increasing on one and decreasing on the other.
Yeah.
So I think this really satisfies that. Let's pivot here. Let's talk about the MyPT app.
Cool.
Why did you do this now? And what is this filling in our space? What does this address, the MyPT app?
My PT app's a PT management platform, and what we saw was that there was lots of apps out there for personal trainers to, show a video of what they're doing for their training and give their client a program. And what personal trainers don't do very well is manage their business. Too many personal trainers start a business, they try and get it right, and unfortunately it doesn't work for them. And I think a lot of that is around managing their business. We all know that small business is really, really difficult. So we created an app to help people generate leads, then manage that lead. So have a communication platform so they can talk to their leads, book them in, take a payment, and then manage that payment. And at the end of the quarter or the year, pump out a report that they can give to their accountant to say, here's my income. So it's a management platform. We're going to stay away from the program aspect of personal training. We're going to help them manage their business. We've obviously been modeling our product on a number of the products out there in the marketplace that aren't in the PT space, like the Ubers and the other find-a service providers, which have been really useful for us.
Let's talk about the marketing aspect of this, because what comes up for me is with personal trainers, especially whether they're in that studio space or they're in the big box space, they always need to be progressing towards new leads. How does my PT app address this? Is there anything unique about how you approach getting leads for qualified trainers?
We're doing this on a location base. PTs that will be inside the app, they'll provide us with their location. A client opens the app and say, I want to find a trainer in my area. A map appears, and then all the trainers in their area are there. They can view the trainer's principal profile, which is their location where they're training, whether they're training in a club or outside of a club. And then they can favorite the trainer, and then they communicate direct with the trainer. So the client can connect by message through the app with the trainer. So basically, it's on a location finder. So find a personal trainer in my area. That can then be filtered down. I want a female that does boxing and likes working outside. So you can filter through different categories as well.
Are you using any specific things like iBeacon technology or geotagging? I mean, how does that actually work from a technology standpoint?
Yeah, at the moment we're only at that level. We will be moving into other aspects of tech, which will help us someone specifically find a trainer. We're very lucky for the Australian launch. We're working with the Peak Body Fitness Australia. The app will not be called PT App for Fitness Australia. All the registered trainers will already be inside the app. So from day one, if a client wants a trainer, they know that all the trainers inside the app are registered trainers with Fitness Australia. So they're qualified, they're up to date with their qualifications, they have insurance, they've got first aid. So that's another key aspect of it. We've got credible trainers inside the app.
I really like how we explored in this conversation, not only making the club within a club environment, but also having the champion. It needs to be so seamless. And we hear this so much, Simon, but what I'm seeing in your app here is that you're using the UK and Australia and these different markets. What do you think it might look like in the United States in the next 6 to 12 months?
Ideally, a peak body or a training organization that wants to provide their trainers with a product that they can add benefit to their membership. And that's what we've done in Australia. And it may be every trainer that's a member of or works for, has the app, and it's a great management tool for the business as well. So if it was a club chain or an organization that needed a product to help manage their PTs, then that's another aspect of it too.
Well, Simon, this is the last part of the show. It's our Fit 6 round. It's 6 questions for Simon Hall. Are you ready?
Okay, mate. Yeah, go.
The first one is, you started at the front desk. You were in the receptionist mode. What is one of the best pieces of advice someone has given you since that first day at the desk until now as an industry consultant?
If you're really solid about what you think you can implement or you can change in a business, you should stick with it. Stick with your gut. I was very lucky enough to work at the YMCA when they were doing lots of change, and we implemented sales teams and direct debiting. And there was lots of pushback. Why do we have salespeople? Why do we have someone helping someone make a decision about joining a club? Everyone should make their own decision. And we introduced direct debiting to facilities. Unfortunately, we need to take money off people, and direct debiting is the easiest way. Or reoccurring dues payments. I just stuck on the guns, and 4 years later, we tripled income for the YMCA, which is critical for them to run their social programs. So,
if you can see it with your eyes closed and you know it's going to happen, then just stick to that vision.
Totally, yeah.
So being in our space can be challenging. It's also, I believe, one of the most exciting times to be here because of this technology curve. Can you share with us one of the more difficult times you've had, maybe a moment or a few in your career growth that helped you rise above to be the person you are now?
Yeah, unfortunately, I was made redundant from a role. The business was growing. I was in quite a senior role, and that role wasn't being taken along with the business. So I was made redundant, and it kind of made me decide that using my years of experience and network and connections, could be the way for me to go. And that's probably why I kind of stepped out the box and did my own thing starting my own small business as a consultant. What it also made me realize that it's who you know, not what you know. It's the connections, it's the mentors, it's the influencers that I've met along the way. Now I make a point of making sure that I know people. Meeting you, although we met a couple of weeks ago, meeting you properly again today, Josh, it's another door opening.
We are all about bringing on the truth for the show. We have so many people in our space that are bringing in technology. So we love it when we can finally get connected to people we can trust.
Yeah.
What has surprised you the most about our space in the past 2 years, taking you off guard, where when you saw it happen or when you heard about it, you thought, wow, I didn't actually see that coming?
Talked about it real briefly, is how slow we are at adopting things. That's probably been the biggest surprise. The iPhone, the Apple Watch, Google Home, all this stuff is moving so fast, and we're still lagging behind a little bit. I think I'm an early adopter. I haven't got an Apple Watch, but I've got the latest phone. But clubs are taking their time to adopt, to get involved. I know it's a high investment for some people, but we've really got to think of, is it going to help your business? How are you going to connect with your members? You need to get on the boat now. It's going to move too fast, too quickly, and you'll be so far behind. That's why you need those champions and those early adopters in your business that help you move you along quicker as well.
The champion is so important, and I'm so glad you brought that up in this conversation. We actually spoke about this retention piece and tech adoption in episode 50 with Brian O'Rourke. We will link that in the show notes. So if you're listening to Simon and I, just tap your iPhone, scroll down. It'll be right there. Simon, mentorship. You talked about who you know and how important it is to have a trusted mentor to guide us. What does that look like? What's one of your greatest mentors in our industry?
I've been very lucky to work with a number of, really top guys. I met Tim Webster and Chris Tynan. I met them in the UK. They were running a conference called Body Life Conferences. And when I met those guys, and I'm still in contact with them now, I saw them when I went back to the UK just recently. They're back in the UK. They came out to New Zealand. And I learned from them that networking, introducing yourself to somebody else, but also passing on that introduction to somebody else was key. As you get to today, LinkedIn is that platform that you have to be on if you really want to be finding connections or getting connected or finding new ideas. And on that, I met, probably 6-7 years ago, I met Brian O'Rourke. And he's kind of been a mentor for me in this space ever since. And, Brian's been, a good inspiration to keep my focus on tech and keep moving forward. So
such a great reminder, Simon. I actually met Brian over 5 years ago on Twitter. So I think
there you go.
The regard of technology and its ability to bring us closer together when we have a shared passion, it's never been more present and more powerful than now. Last question. At this intersection we sit at, there's technology, there's fitness. We know that there's incredible opportunity, and there's also some gaps that we need to jump. What do you see as possibilities, Simon, for this intersection? What's possible for both our business bottom line and also to uplift the health of our global fitness community?
You have to have a clear vision that your tech and your club meet together for one purpose, and that is to keep your members motivated, active, and retained. The only way a club is ever going to think about investing money into tech is that it's going to make their bottom line better. The only way it makes your bottom line better is by keeping more members and getting more members. Your tech is a connection. It's a motivator. It's a way of making sure that your members are engaged in your club, whether it be social media as a tech or whether it be heart rate monitoring and results driven. Is it the synchronized lights and the funkiness of your boutique studio that bring your members back? I know we talked about other things around retention and it links back to instructors, but do your sums, invest your money wisely. It's about retaining members.
Simon Hall, thanks for sharing your intelligence and 30 plus years of wisdom here on the podcast. A club within a club, finding a tech champion and using that tech for retention. Is there anything you think we missed when we understand the UK and New Zealand and how they're approaching their boutique studios, what we can learn and apply more of here in the United States?
In the UK and more so in Australia, and more recently with a couple of clients in in New Zealand, is bringing the boutique spaces together as one. So you've got your spin studios, your super yoga studios, you've got your training, small group training clubs like your Barry's and your Orange Theories. I mean, I'm seeing a number of clubs bringing those or three elements together or two elements together and making that club. So you've also got these three different communities that go to these three different elements into one space. So clubs like One Rebel, which is a crowdfunding, an amazing concept. They've got three elements. They've got spin, they've got rumble, which is a boxing element, and they've got a train, which is obviously a small group training. You've got another space, which is yoga, spin, and a boxing functional space. Over here in Australia, you've got Flow Athletic, which is a yoga, spin, and training element. Just recently opened in New Zealand, you've got a club called District in the heart of the CBD. They've done the same thing, yoga, spin, and a training studio. Bringing those three elements together, so it's classes only. You're relying on a class model. You can use your ClassPass product in there as well. I think they're going to be doing that too. So I think it brings three communities together as one community, tech's in those clubs as well. And that's what I've kind of been seeing more recently.
We will link everything about your app and you on LinkedIn, but where can people learn more on social? How can our audience connect with you?
At the moment, mainly on LinkedIn, because our Australian model is under a different name, not My PT App. We don't really have a presence of that at the moment, but we will be updating our My PT App website when we're thinking about going into the other markets. I mean, ideally, you can follow myself on Facebook, on Instagram, social media, Sai is my handle, and or LinkedIn.
All right. And if our audience is in North Bondi, they can come by your coffee shop for an espresso. Simon, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Josh. Awesome to talk to you.
Clubs have no choice and now must fully embrace utilizing social media as an important tool for customer retention and member engagement. Currently, even though the majority of clubs have Facebook pages and most of their members are on social media, many facilities are failing to leverage these powerful platforms to connect with their customers. Simon recommends simple actions like displaying your social feeds on screens in the lobby and having group trainers casually invite members to engage and tag their gym and workout in social media. Many trainers have a difficult time with lead gen and managing the accounting side of business. If a Fit Pro would like to spend more time perfecting their training craft and less time attracting new customers, there are now technologies that can solve this problem. The MyPT app is creating leads by pairing trainers up with local clients in need of their services, while also providing calendars, scheduling, reminders, payment processing, and so much more. Simon shows us the increased potential of fitness technology when combined with the champion in the club, who can lead that charge for technology. In an era of exponential tech growth, what's most important to fitness pros and operators is to understand where they are missing opportunities to engage and increase retention by formulating a trusted bridge between their customers and the technology. Thank you for listening to the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast. Here's a quick message from Brian O'Rourke.
Hello, everyone. This is Brian O'Rourke. Thanks for listening to the Fitness Plus Technology Podcast. I also want to extend our thanks to Josh and the many, many wonderful professionals who've contributed their time and expertise for free for the health club and fitness industry at large. Wouldn't you like your fitness brand, product, or service to be featured on a podcast like this? I know I would. And that's why the Fitness Industry Technology Council, myself, and our companies like Moon Mission Media, Baderi Ventures, and Vertimax, among others, have been underwriting the podcast for the last 9 months. Check the show notes for details and consider becoming a sponsor. It's a great way to reach thousands of industry professionals in the fitness and health club space and be a part of educating people on technology adoption and all the opportunities it's going to provide. So please consider joining us here at the podcast, and we look forward to the many series of podcasts ahead. Thanks so much.